Carmen sat frozen at the corner table, her hands gripping the armrests of her wheelchair as she watched Michael's back disappear through the restaurant door. The silence around her felt suffocating. Every pair of eyes in the dimly lit room seemed to bore into her, and the soft jazz music that had felt romantic moments ago now mocked her humiliation. She'd spent 2 hours getting ready for this. 2 hours, choosing the red dress that made her feel beautiful, perfecting her makeup, rehearsing conversation starters in her head. This was supposed to be her fresh start, her first date since the accident that had stolen her legs and nearly her will to live 2 years ago. Before we continue this story, let us know in the comments section where you're watching from, and if this story speaks to you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Carmen blinked hard, refusing to let the tears fall. Not here. Not in front of all these strangers who'd just witnessed her rejection like some cruel theater performance. I didn't sign up for this. Michael's words echoed in her mind, each syllable a fresh cut. The way his face had changed when he saw the wheelchair, the flicker of disappointment in his eyes, the barely concealed disgust as he'd muttered his excuse and fled. She'd seen it all in the space of 30 seconds. Her phone buzzed on the table. Probably Michael, she thought bitterly. Maybe he'd send some half-hearted apology text to ease his conscience. She didn't reach for it. The waiter approached cautiously, his young face creased with sympathy that made Carmen want to scream. "Miss, can I get you anything? Perhaps some water?" "I'm fine," she said, her voice coming out steadier than she felt. "I'll just need the check." "There's no charge, miss. Please, take your time." Great. Now she was a charity case to the waitstaff, too. Carmen closed her eyes, contemplating just wheeling herself out and never looking back at the dating world again. Maybe her sister had been right. Maybe it was too soon. Maybe it would always be too soon. "Daddy, why is that lady crying?" The small voice cut through Carmen's spiral of self-pity. She opened her eyes to find a little girl standing beside her table, no more than 6 years old, with blonde pigtails and curious blue eyes that held no pity, just genuine concern. She clutched a purple unicorn toy against her chest. "Mia, sweetheart, we shouldn't intrude," a man's voice said softly. Carmen looked up to see him, tall and lean in a casual blazer, with kind eyes that carried the weight of someone who'd seen his share of pain. He placed a gentle hand on his daughter's shoulder, but the little girl didn't budge. "But she looks sad," Mia insisted, then turned back to Carmen. "Are you sad because you're all alone? That's sad. Being alone is the worst." "Mia," the man started, his cheeks coloring with embarrassment. "It's okay," Carmen found herself saying, surprised by her own voice. Something about the child's innocent directness felt refreshing after the performative pity of everyone else. "I am a little sad, but I'll be all right. Do you want my unicorn?" Mia held out the toy. "She always makes me feel better when I'm sad. Her name is Sparkles." Carmen felt something crack inside her chest, a hairline fracture in the wall she'd been building. She took the unicorn gently, feeling its soft purple fur. "Sparkles is very beautiful, but won't you miss her? You can borrow her. Daddy says when people are sad, sometimes they just need someone to sit with them." Mia looked up at her father. "Right, Daddy?" The man met Carmen's eyes with an apologetic smile. "I'm Lucas. And yes, that's exactly what I say, though I didn't expect it to turn into a stranger intervention tonight." He paused, seeming to choose his words carefully. "I'm sorry if we're intruding. My daughter has a sixth sense for people who are hurting. We were just finishing our dinner at the table behind you when she noticed you were upset." Carmen should have said she was fine, should have thanked them politely and sent them away. Instead, she heard herself say, "I was stood up." Well, not exactly stood up. He showed up, took one look at me, and decided this, she gestured to her wheelchair, wasn't what he signed up for. Lucas's expression darkened. "No, I'm sorry. That must have been awful. It was humiliating." The words tumbled out before Carmen could stop them. Maybe it was the kindness in his eyes, or maybe she was just tired of holding everything in. "I knew dating again would be hard, but I didn't expect someone to literally walk out on me in front of an entire restaurant." "Can I sit with you?" Mia asked, already pulling out the chair across from Carmen. "Daddy says nobody should eat alone, even though you're not eating." "But still." Carmen looked at Lucas, who shrugged helplessly. "She's not wrong. And honestly, if you need someone to tell you that guy's an idiot, I'm happy to be that person. But we can also leave you alone if you prefer." Something in Carmen's chest loosened. She surprised herself by nodding toward the empty chair. Actually, I'd appreciate the company. I'm Carmen. Lucas smiled, a real smile that reached his eyes, and sat down beside his daughter. The waiter reappeared, looking confused but professional as Lucas ordered coffee for himself and hot chocolate for Mia. So, Lucas said once the waiter left, do you want to talk about it, or would you prefer to hear Mia explain her entire collection of unicorn toys? Because I promise you, she can talk about unicorns for hours. I have 17, Mia announced proudly. Well, 16 now because you have Sparkles, but she'll come back home eventually. Despite everything, Carmen felt a small laugh escape. 17 is impressive. I used to collect running medals. Used to? Lucas asked gently. Carmen's hand instinctively went to her legs. I was a runner. Competitively. I had dreams of running the Boston Marathon. She took a breath. Then 2 years ago, a drunk driver ran a red light, and suddenly I was the person people felt sorry for instead of the person running past them at 6 in the morning. The words hung in the air. Carmen braced herself for the inevitable pity, the careful expressions, the I can't imagine platitudes. That must make you angry, Lucas said simply. Losing something you loved like that. Carmen looked at him, startled by his directness. Yes, I'm angry all the time. Angry at the driver. Angry at my body for betraying me. Angry at people who look at me like I'm broken. She paused. Angry at myself for thinking I could just jump back into normal life and not face exactly what happened tonight. My mom died, Mia said matter-of-factly, swinging her legs under the chair. Daddy says it's okay to be sad about it, but we still have to keep living. That's what she would want. Carmen's breath caught. She looked at Lucas, who nodded slowly. Pancreatic cancer, 2 years ago. His voice was steady, but Carmen could hear the grief underneath. Mia was 4. Some days I'm still figuring out how to be both parents to her. I'm sorry, Carmen said, and meant it. Me too. Lucas wrapped his hands around his coffee cup. But here's what I've learned. People are going to see whatever they want to see. Some will see the wheelchair, just like some people only see poor widower when they look at me. But the people worth knowing, they'll take the time to see you. The whole you, Mia added, nodding sagely as if she understood everything. Carmen felt tears prick her eyes again, but these were different. How did you get so wise? She asked the little girl. Daddy reads me lots of stories, and I pay attention. Mia took a sip of her hot chocolate, leaving a mustache of foam on her upper lip. Also, I think your chair is pretty cool. It has shiny wheels. My bike has shiny wheels too. And just like that, Carmen laughed. Really laughed. The sound felt foreign and wonderful all at once. They talked for another hour. Lucas told her about his work as a graphic designer, about trying to balance client deadlines with school pickups and dance recitals. Mia chimed in with stories about her kindergarten class and her best friend who could do a cartwheel. Carmen found herself sharing things she hadn't told anyone, about the phantom pains that still woke her up at night, about how she'd quit her job at the marketing firm because she couldn't handle her co-workers' careful politeness. What do you do now? Lucas asked. I paint. Illustrate, actually. I never had time for it before, but now. Carmen shrugged. I suppose that's one silver lining. I'm actually making money from my art. That's amazing, Lucas said, and he sounded like he meant it. By the time they left the restaurant together, Carmen felt lighter than she had in months. Lucas walked alongside her wheelchair without hovering, without treating her like she needed protection. Mia skipped ahead, turning back every few steps to make sure they were following. At the parking lot, Lucas pulled out his phone. I know this might be forward, and please tell me if I'm overstepping, but could I get your number? Mia and I go to the farmer's market every Saturday morning. There's great coffee and usually some local artists selling their work. If you're free tomorrow, maybe you'd like to join us? Carmen hesitated. Every instinct screamed at her to protect herself, to not risk another rejection. But something about Lucas's honest eyes and Mia's unself-conscious acceptance made her want to take the chance. I'd like that, she said, typing her number into his phone. As she drove home later that night, Sparkles the unicorn sitting in the passenger seat, Carmen realized something had shifted. The evening that had started with crushing humiliation had ended with the tiniest spark of hope. Maybe, just maybe, there were people in the world who could see beyond the wheelchair. Maybe she could learn to be one of them herself. Saturday morning arrived with unexpected sunshine. Carmen had changed outfits 3 times before settling on a casual blue sweater and jeans, feeling ridiculous for caring so much about a trip to the farmer's market. It wasn't a date, she kept reminding herself. It was just coffee with a kind man and his daughter. So why had she spent 20 minutes on her makeup? Lucas was waiting at the entrance when she arrived, Mia bouncing excitedly beside him. The little girl ran over the moment she spotted Carmen. "You came, and you brought sparkles." Mia clapped her hands as she noticed the unicorn tucked into the side pocket of Carmen's wheelchair. "I couldn't leave her at home," Carmen said, smiling. "She was very good company. See, Daddy? I told you she'd come." Mia grabbed her father's hand, then reached for Carmen's. "Come on." The apple cider donuts sell out fast. They spent the morning wandering through colorful stalls of fresh produce, handmade crafts, and local artwork. Lucas bought Mia the donuts she'd insisted on, and Carmen found herself actually relaxing, enjoying the simple pleasure of a Saturday morning without the weight of expectation. At one stall displaying watercolor paintings, Lucas paused. "These are beautiful. Do you work in watercolors?" "Sometimes," Carmen said, examining a piece depicting a sunset over water. "I mostly do digital illustration now, but I started with traditional media. There's something about the unpredictability of watercolors that I love. You can't control everything, so you have to learn to work with the mistakes." "Sounds like life," Lucas said quietly. Their eyes met, and Carmen felt something flutter in her chest. She looked away first, unsettled by the intensity of the moment. Over the next 3 weeks, the Saturday market trips became routine. Then Lucas started texting during the week, just small things at first. A funny meme about coffee, a photo of Mia's latest, artwork that she'd made for Miss Carmen. Then longer conversations about their days, their frustrations, their small victories. Carmen found herself looking forward to his messages, to the way he never treated her disability as the most interesting thing about her. When she complained about a difficult client, he offered genuine advice, not platitudes. When she shared a new illustration, he gave thoughtful feedback, not empty praise. One Thursday evening, Lucas called instead of texting. "So Mia has a dance recital next Saturday," he said, and Carmen could hear the nervousness in his voice. "It's going to be chaos, probably terrible elementary school theater acoustics, and the performances are about as polished as you'd expect from 6-year-olds. But Mia asked if you'd come." "You can absolutely say, 'No, I'd love to,'" Carmen interrupted, surprised by how much she meant it. The recital was exactly as Lucas had described, held in a gymnasium with squeaky floors and fluorescent lighting. But when Mia spotted Carmen in the audience, her whole face lit up. She waved so enthusiastically, she nearly knocked over the girl next to her. After the performance, as parents milled around taking photos, Lucas leaned close to Carmen. "Thank you for coming. It means a lot to her, to both of us." "I wouldn't have missed it," Carmen said, and realized with a start that it was true. Somewhere along the way, these two people had become important to her. That night, Lucas walked Carmen to her car. Mia had fallen asleep in his arms, her tiny tiara askew. "Can I ask you something?" Lucas said. "And please tell me if this is too forward, but would you want to have dinner sometime? Just the two of us. Mia's grandmother can watch her, and we could actually have an adult conversation without interruptions about unicorns." Carmen's heart raced. This was different from the farmer's market, different from the recital. This was a date, a real date. And suddenly all her fears came rushing back. "I don't know if that's a good idea," she heard herself say. Lucas's expression didn't change, but she saw something flicker in his eyes. "Okay. Can I ask why?" Carmen gripped her wheelchair's armrests. "Because this," she gestured between them, "feels too good to be true. And I keep waiting for the moment when you realize what you've gotten yourself into. When you see me struggling with something simple and realize you don't want to deal with it. When I turn out to be like that guy from the restaurant," Lucas said gently. "Yes." The word came out as barely a whisper. Lucas shifted Mia in his arms carefully, then crouched down so he was at eye level with Carmen. "I can't promise I'll never disappoint you, or that I always know the right thing to say. But Carmen, I need you to hear this. I'm not here because I feel sorry for you. I'm here because you make me laugh. Because you're talented and honest, and you don't let me get away with feeling sorry for myself. Because Mia lights up around you in a way she hasn't since her mother died." He paused. "And because when I'm with you, I feel like myself again. Not just the widower or the single dad, But Lucas. Carmen felt tears welling up. What if I'm not ready? What if I mess this up? Then we'll figure it out together. Lucas stood, adjusting his sleeping daughter. But I'd really like to try. No pressure, just dinner, as friends who might want to be something more. Carmen took a shaky breath. Okay, yes, dinner. His smile was worth every moment of fear. The dinner date happened the following Friday at a small Italian restaurant. Lucas had asked ahead to make sure it was wheelchair accessible, a detail Carmen noticed and appreciated without him making a show of it. They talked for hours, the conversation flowing easily from books to travel dreams to embarrassing childhood stories. Lucas told her about his late wife, Sarah, how they'd met in college, how watching her die had been the hardest thing he'd ever done. I thought I'd never feel normal again, he admitted, twirling pasta on his fork. Every day felt like walking through fog. But then Mia needed me, and I had to keep showing up. And slowly, it got easier. Not better, but easier. That's how the accident felt, Carmen said. Like my whole identity disappeared in one moment. I wasn't Carmen the runner anymore. I was Carmen the paralyzed woman. Carmen who people whispered about. Carmen who couldn't do simple things without planning and accommodation. But you're so much more than that, Lucas said, his voice intense. You're Carmen the artist. Carmen who makes my daughter laugh. Carmen who sends me terrible puns at 2 in the morning when you can't sleep. Carmen laughed despite herself. Those puns are excellent, and you know it. They're objectively terrible, Lucas grinned. But I look forward to every single one. As they left the restaurant, Lucas took her hand. The gesture was simple, natural, but it made Carmen's heart race. They sat in his car in the parking lot, neither wanting the evening to end. I had a really good time, Carmen said. Me too. Lucas squeezed her hand. Can we do this again? I'd like that. They started seeing each other regularly after that. Sometimes with Mia, sometimes just the two of them. Carmen introduced him to her favorite art supply store, and he showed her the hiking trails where he took Mia. Beautiful paths that were wheelchair accessible. But even as Carmen felt herself falling for Lucas, a voice in the back of her mind whispered doubts. Was he really attracted to her, or did he just feel obligated? Was she a girlfriend or a project? Did he see her as a woman or as someone who needed saving? The doubts came to a head 3 weeks later at a casual dinner downtown. Carmen and Lucas were sharing appetizers when she overheard 2 women at the next table, their voices carrying over the ambient noise. That's so sweet, one woman said, clearly looking at. He must be doing such a good deed, dating her. I mean, it takes a special kind of person to take on someone with that kind of disability, you know. So noble, the other agreed. It's nice of him to make her feel normal. Carmen's blood ran cold. Her hand froze halfway to her water glass. Every insecurity she'd been suppressing crashed over her like a wave. Carmen? Lucas noticed immediately. What's wrong? She couldn't look at him. Did you hear them? Hear who? Those women, talking about us, about how noble you are for dating me. Her voice shook with anger and hurt. Is that what this is? Your good deed? Your way of feeling better about yourself? Lucas's face paled. What? No, Carmen, because if I'm just some project to you, some broken thing you're trying to fix. Stop. Lucas's voice was firm but not angry. You're not broken, and you're definitely not a project. But Carmen was too far gone, all her fears spilling out at once. How do I know that? How do I know you're not just with me because you feel sorry for me? Because taking care of someone makes you feel useful? Because what? Because I couldn't possibly actually want you? Lucas's voice rose slightly, drawing glances from nearby tables. He lowered it, but his words were no less intense. Carmen, do you really think I'd spend 3 months getting to know you, introducing you to my daughter, sharing parts of myself I haven't shared with anyone since Sarah died, just to feel good about myself? Carmen's eyes burned with tears. I don't know. I don't know anything anymore. All I know is that I heard those women, and suddenly I'm back in that restaurant watching Michael walk away, and I can't. Her voice broke. Can't what? Can't be someone's charity case. I won't do it. Carmen grabbed her purse. I need to go. Carmen, please. I need space. Lucas. I'm sorry. She left without looking back, knowing if she did, she might lose her resolve. But as she drove home, tears streaming down her face, she couldn't shake the image of Lucas's hurt expression. Over the next week, Carmen ignored Lucas's calls and texts. She threw herself into her work, accepting every commission that came her way, staying up late into the night with her tablet and stylus, trying to outrun her thoughts. Her sister Maya finally confronted her on day 5. "So you're just going to hide in your apartment forever?" Maya said, arms crossed in the doorway. "I'm not hiding. I'm working. You're being an idiot." Maya walked in uninvited and sat on the couch. "That man is crazy about you, and you're pushing him away because of what? 2 random women with opinions that don't matter. You don't understand. I understand that you've been happier these past few months than I've seen you since before the accident. I understand that Mia adores you, and Lucas looks at you like you hung the moon. And I understand that you're so scared of being hurt again that you're willing to throw away something real." Carmen's hands trembled. "What if they're right, Maya? What if I'm just what? Just worthy of love? Just deserving of happiness?" Maya's voice softened. "Carmen, the only person who thinks you're a charity case is you." The words hit like a physical blow. Carmen sat in silence long after Maya left, staring at her latest illustration on the screen. A woman in a wheelchair, reaching toward a sunrise, her face full of hope. When had she stopped seeing that hope in herself? Carmen stared at the package on her doorstep for a full minute before bringing it inside. There was no return address, just her name written in careful handwriting she didn't recognize. Inside, wrapped in tissue paper, was a leather-bound sketchbook, but it was what filled the pages that made Carmen's breath catch. Illustrations, dozens of them. Each one showed women in wheelchairs doing extraordinary things. A woman racing down a mountain trail, wind in her hair. Another climbing a rock wall, muscles straining with effort. A woman dancing, her wheelchair spinning gracefully. One painting, one conquering a marathon finish line, arms raised in triumph. They were beautiful, powerful. Each woman looked fierce, joyful, unstoppable. At the bottom of the last page, in that same careful handwriting, were 3 words: "I see you." Carmen's hands shook as she flipped back through the pages. These weren't commissioned pieces or stock images. Someone had drawn these specifically for her, and she knew exactly who. Tucked into the back cover was a note. "Carmen, I'm not an artist like you, but I wanted you to see what I see when I look at you. Not someone who needs saving, not someone broken. I see strength. I see courage. I see a woman who gets up every day and faces a world that isn't always kind, and does it anyway. I see someone who makes my daughter laugh and challenges me to be better. I see you, all of you, and I'm not going anywhere unless you tell me to. Lucas." Tears came then, hot and fast. Carmen clutched the sketchbook to her chest, something cracking wide open inside her. Not breaking, but opening. Like a door she'd kept locked, finally swinging free. She'd been so focused on what she'd lost, on what she couldn't do anymore, that she'd forgotten to see what was still there, who she still was. Carmen picked up her phone with trembling fingers and typed, "Can we talk?" The response came immediately. "I'll be there in 20 minutes." Lucas arrived in 15. Carmen opened the door to find him slightly out of breath, his hair disheveled like he'd run his hands through it a dozen times. "Hi," he said. "Hi." Carmen clutched the sketchbook. "You drew these?" "I traced some, adapted others. I'm not naturally talented like you." He smiled nervously. "But yes, I made them. For you. They're beautiful, Lucas." Carmen's voice broke. "Can you come in?" They sat in her living room, and for a moment, neither spoke. Carmen traced the spine of the sketchbook, gathering her courage. "I'm sorry," she finally said. "I'm sorry for what I said at the restaurant, for shutting you out, for letting my fear make decisions for me. Carmen, please, let me finish." She took a shaky breath. "When I heard those women talking, it was like every insecurity I've ever had came flooding back. The accident didn't just take my ability to walk. It took my confidence, my sense of self. For so long, I felt like a burden, like someone people tolerate out of pity. And when I started having real feelings for you, it terrified me because I couldn't understand why you'd want this, why you'd want me." Lucas moved closer, his eyes never leaving her face. "Can I tell you what I want?" Carmen nodded, not trusting her voice. "I want Saturday mornings at the farmer's market. I want your terrible 2 a.m. puns and your honest opinions about my design work. I want to watch you create art and see Mia's face light up when you walk into a room." He reached for her hand. I want late-night conversations and early-morning coffee and all the messy, complicated, beautiful things that come with really knowing someone. I'm not here to fix you, Carmen. I'm not here because I feel obligated or noble or any of those things those women said. I'm here because when I'm with you, I remember what it feels like to be excited about tomorrow. But what about the hard parts? Carmen's voice was barely a whisper. What about when my chair doesn't fit somewhere you want to go, or when I have a bad pain day and can't get out of bed, or when... Then we figure it out together, Lucas said simply. Carmen, everyone has hard parts. Everyone has days when they can't get out of bed, dreams they can't reach, limitations they didn't choose. Mine just look different from yours. But relationships aren't about finding someone without problems. They're about finding someone whose problems you want to work through. I'm scared, Carmen admitted. I'm scared of Lot. Needing you too much. I'm scared of being too much. You're not too much. Lucas squeezed her hand. And needing people isn't weakness. I need you too, Carmen. I need the way you challenge me. The way you make me see the world differently. Mia needs you. You've helped her heal in ways I couldn't. Carmen looked down at their intertwined hands. Those women at the restaurant, they were wrong, weren't they? They were wrong, Lucas confirmed. You're not someone who needs saving. You're someone who's been saving herself this whole time. I'm just lucky enough to be here to watch. Carmen felt something shift inside her, like puzzle pieces finally clicking into place. She'd spent so long defining herself by what she'd lost that she'd forgotten to see what she'd gained. Strength, resilience, the ability to create beauty from pain, and now, maybe, the courage to let herself be loved. I want to try, she said. For real this time. No running away when things get scary. Lucas's smile was bright enough to light the room. No running away, he agreed, although maybe some very fast wheeling when the moment calls for it. Carmen laughed, the sound breaking through the last of her tension. Did you just make a wheelchair joke? Too soon? Maybe a little, Carmen said, but she was grinning. But I appreciate the effort. Lucas leaned forward, his eyes searching hers. Can I kiss you? Carmen's heart hammered. I'd like that. The kiss was soft, tentative at first, then deeper as Carmen let herself lean into it. When they finally pulled apart, she was smiling. So, Lucas said, Mia's been asking about you non-stop. She wants to know if you'll come to her soccer game next week. Fair warning, she's terrible at soccer but very enthusiastic. I wouldn't miss it, Carmen said, and meant it with everything in her. Over the next few weeks, Carmen felt pieces of herself coming back together. Not the same as before, but something new, and maybe even better. She started a new art series inspired by Lucas's sketchbook, illustrations that celebrated strength in all its forms. One afternoon, while working on a particularly challenging piece, her phone rang. It was the director of a local gallery. Miss Jones, I saw your work online, and I'd love to discuss a show. Your series Unbroken is exactly the kind of fresh perspective we're looking for. Carmen's hands shook as she agreed to a meeting. After hanging up, she immediately called Lucas. They want to show my work, she said, the words tumbling out. A real gallery show. My series about disability and strength, and that's amazing. Lucas's excitement was infectious. When? 6 weeks. They want to do a whole exhibition. Carmen paused. Lucas, I'm terrified. Good. That means it matters. She could hear his smile through the phone. And you won't be doing it alone. Mia and I will be there, front row, ready to tell everyone that we knew you before you were famous. I'm hardly going to be famous. Not with that attitude. Carmen laughed, feeling the fear transform into excitement. Will you help me? I'll need to select pieces, write descriptions, figure out how to present everything. I'm a graphic designer. Remember? This is literally what I do. Plus, Mia is an excellent art critic. Very honest feedback. She told me my last painting needed more purple. See? Expert opinion. The next 6 weeks flew by in a blur of preparation. Lucas helped Carmen select and arrange her pieces, design the promotional materials, even practice what she'd say if people asked about her work. Mia contributed by drawing her own illustrations to Help, Miss Carmen, which they hung in Carmen's apartment for inspiration. The night before the opening, Carmen couldn't sleep. She sat in her living room at 2 a.m., staring at photos of the gallery setup Lucas had sent her. Her phone buzzed. Lucas, of course. Can't sleep either? His message read. How did you know? Because I know you, and because you're probably spiraling about tomorrow. Carmen smiled. Maybe a little. Want some company? 20 minutes later, Lucas was at her door with 2 cups of hot chocolate and a sleepy Mia in her pajamas. She wouldn't let me leave without her, Lucas explained, as Mia immediately climbed onto Carmen's couch and snuggled into her side. Couldn't sleep, Mia mumbled. Too excited about your art show. Carmen wrapped an arm around the little girl, feeling her heart swell. Me too, sweetie. They sat together in comfortable silence, watching an old movie with the volume low. Eventually, Mia fell asleep between them, and Lucas reached across to take Carmen's hand. However tomorrow goes, he said quietly, I'm proud of you, for putting yourself out there, for letting people see your work, your story. I couldn't have done it without you, Carmen said. Any of it. Not just the show, but remembering who I am beyond the accident. You were always this person, Lucas said. You just needed to remember. The gallery opening was everything Carmen had hoped for, and nothing she'd expected. The space was filled with people. Some she knew, many she didn't. Her illustrations lined the walls, each one a testament to strength, resilience, and the beauty of refusing to be defined by limitations. Mia wore her fanciest dress and appointed herself as Carmen's personal assistant, directing people to her favorite pieces with serious authority. Lucas stayed close but never hovering, his presence a steady anchor in the chaos. Carmen found herself talking to strangers about her work, about her journey, about what it meant to rebuild identity after loss. Some people cried. Others shared their own stories. A woman in her 50s, using a cane, hugged Carmen and whispered, "Thank you for showing us we're still whole." Near the end of the evening, the gallery director approached with a broad smile. "Miss Jones, we've sold 8 pieces already, and several people want to commission custom work. I think we can safely call this a success." Carmen felt dizzy with joy. Lucas appeared at her side immediately, steadying her chair. You did it," he said, his eyes shining with pride. "We did it," Carmen corrected. As the crowd thinned, Carmen stood sat, rather in the center of the gallery, surrounded by her art, by Lucas and Mia, by people who saw her as more than her wheelchair. She felt, for the first time in 2 years, completely whole. "Miss Carmen?" Mia tugged her sleeve. "Can I tell you a secret?" "Of course." Mia leaned close and whispered, "Daddy wants to kiss you, but he thinks there's too many people watching." Carmen burst out laughing, catching Lucas's mortified expression. "Is that so?" "Mia?" Lucas's face turned red. "It's okay," Carmen said, her heart full to bursting. She reached for Lucas's hand and pulled him closer. "I don't mind who's watching." The kiss was sweet and full of promise, and when they pulled apart, Mia was clapping enthusiastically while several gallery visitors smiled. Later, as they walked and rolled to the car together, Mia skipping ahead with Sparkles the unicorn, Lucas leaned down to whisper in Carmen's ear. "So, about that guy who walked out on you at the restaurant. What about him?" "I'm really glad he was an idiot." Carmen laughed, the sound echoing in the cool night air. "You know what? Me too." They stopped at a small cafe that was still open, sharing dessert and coffee while Mia colored on the kids' menu. Carmen watched Lucas help his daughter with a particularly tricky drawing, watched the way he pushed her hair back from her face with such tenderness, and felt something settle deep in her chest. This was what love looked like, not grand gestures or dramatic rescues, just showing up, being present, seeing each other fully and choosing to stay. "What are you thinking about?" Lucas asked, catching her staring. "That I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be," Carmen said. Mia looked up from her coloring. "With us? With you," Carmen confirmed, and knew it was true. As they said goodbye in the parking lot, Lucas pulled Carmen close. "I love you," he said simply. "I should have said it sooner, but I love you, Carmen Jones. All of you." Carmen felt tears prick her eyes, but they were good tears this time. "I love you too," she whispered. "Thank you for seeing me." "Always," Lucas promised. Driving home that night, Carmen thought about the journey that had brought her here, the accident that had stolen so much, the painful process of rebuilding, the humiliation of that first date, and the unexpected gift of Lucas and Mia walking into her life. She'd spent so long believing she was broken, that love was something that happened to whole people, people without wheelchairs and limitations and scars. But Lucas had shown her something different. That wholeness wasn't about perfection. It was about acceptance, about being seen and choosing to stay visible anyway. Carmen parked in her driveway and sat for a moment, looking at the stars. Tomorrow, she'd wake up and still be paralyzed, still face challenges that able-bodied people never thought about, still navigate a world that wasn't built for her. But she'd also wake up loved, seen, understood, and that made all the difference. Her phone buzzed with a final message from Lucas. "Sweet dreams. Can't wait to see you tomorrow. Mia says Sparkles is officially yours now. She's decided you need her more." Carmen smiled, thinking of the purple unicorn sitting on her passenger seat, a reminder of a little girl's uncomplicated love and a father's patient understanding. She typed back, "Tell Mia thank you, and tell yourself thank you too, for everything." "For what?" came the reply. "For walking up to that table, for staying, for seeing me. Easiest decision I ever made." Carmen looked at her reflection in the rearview mirror and saw what Lucas saw. Not a paralyzed woman, but Carmen. Artist, friend, fighter. Someone worthy of love, exactly as she was. She wheeled into her apartment, turned on her tablet, and started sketching. A new piece was forming in her mind. A woman in a wheelchair, arms open wide, surrounded by light. Not reaching for something she'd lost, but embracing what she'd found. She titled it Seen, and got to work. If you enjoyed Carmen's story of finding love and self-acceptance, don't forget to subscribe to Soul Story for more inspiring tales of hope, resilience, and second chances. Drop a comment below sharing your own story of overcoming obstacles or finding unexpected love, and hit that like button to help this story reach others who might need to hear it. Remember, you're never too broken to be loved, and sometimes the best beginnings come from the most painful endings. Until next time, keep believing in beautiful possibilities.